My name is Kolman. I'm a media artist. I have been shooting and editing the documentary with Nagas. The way it came about started actually in the late 90s. I was working at the Royal Tropical Institute in Amsterdam in the Netherlands, and while working there, I had a conversation with Frans Wellman, who was in the communication department, and Frans introduced the Naga people to me. He had some beautiful shawls, attires in his room, and while explaining where they're from, he started talking about the Naga people. To be honest, I had never heard about the Naga people. Now here I have a map, and on the map you see India, China, Myanmar. So that's the area where the Naga people have their homelands. Very important is to know that the British conquered a piece of Naga territory, and they incorporated that in the British Empire. But since the Nagas live on the higher parts, not all Naga territory was conquered. I believe it was maybe only like 1/3. And the British called these areas the unadministered areas. And at the end of the Second World War, the Nagas fought alongside the British. They fought the Japanese. The Japanese would have rolled all the way through the whole of India, hadn't been for the British, together with the Nagas, stopping the Japanese. It happened at Kohima. There is a World War II cemetery in Kohima, and there is in the documentary a short section shot on that cemetery. So the making of With Nagas, I called it With Nagas because it gave me the feeling of standing by the Naga people, and I think it is important that we, all of us, and we I mean the international community, will stand by the Naga people, because not only are they a very friendly and amazing people, but they could use some international help, especially from the British, who neglected, who did not live up to some promises they made in the past. And basically the story that is told in the documentary is about how, after the British left, the Nagas proclaimed their independence. They wanted to continue as a people, independent from, for instance, from the Union of India. But that's not what happened. India invaded the country of the Nagas. And I think India has been making a huge mistake, first of all by invading, but is still making the mistake of holding the country of the Nagas occupied, instead of giving the Nagas their own freedom and their own choice whether or not to be part of the Union of India. I mean, as a European, I'm very proud that the Netherlands is part of the EU. I think that it's good to be part of a larger whole. But it should be up to the Naga people and the country if they want to be part of the Indian Union or not, and under what conditions. And there are talks going on between the Naga country representatives and India, and one of the issues is their own constitution, which they had since a long time, and the flag. They always had their own flag. Anyway, that is all these issues are addressed in the documentary. I just wanted to make clear a little bit in this short video. The woman I traveled with part of our equipment, decided to go back on the 19th to Amsterdam as we originally planned. And she was harassed at the airport. They took her passport, India IB, they interrogated her for 12 hours. And when they finally allowed her to leave, when they finally gave her passport back, she had to pay for the return flight herself, because of course her plane was already gone. I only heard about this when I was flying at the same time back to Dimapur with a stopover in Kolkata. When I was in Dimapur, I did that interview, and shortly after decided to go back. I had a return flight from Delhi to Dimapur, Dimapur back to Delhi, but instead of flying back, knowing the harassment that India IB had put upon my companion, knowing that there would be a huge risk to that India IB would get all the materials, I decided instead of flying, go by train. So I went by train 40 hours to Delhi. As you can see, India was not keen on anybody making a documentary like this. And that has been the case for many decades. For a long time, journalists could not enter Nagaland. And here, as you can see on the screen, this is a high mountain ridge, and so it's hard to reach. The Nagas, they live approximately in this area. Part of it is in what is considered Myanmar, part is considered India, the Union. Now, in order to reach, for instance, Dimapur, you either fly or you go by train. If you go by train, you have to enter through a small corridor, because these are other countries, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal. So in a way it is more or less only accessible from India's side, and India is not allowing many people to enter the land of the Nagas. So you have to apply for visa with India, for instance here in the Netherlands, in the Hague, India Embassy. And so India decides who they want or who they don't want. India also decides from the Nagas who ever have left and studied abroad, for instance, which Nagas of those are allowed to leave the country after they have been abroad. Because India is very keen on keeping that whole situation, keeping the story sealed. So yeah, there's a lot of harassment. There's also a lot to say about the fascinating culture of the Nagas, but I invite everybody to watch the documentary and see for yourself, and of course hear for yourself, listen to the stories of the Nagas. And it would be very good if the international community, people from other countries, not only Britain and people in the EU, people in the United States, especially in the United States, because it were American Baptists who baptized the Nagas, so they also have their role to play. And we have to stand by the Naga people and make sure that their original proclamation to be independent just after the Second World War will finally be followed up. And the only way to achieve that is international pressure on India to make clear that India is making big mistakes handling the Naga issue and the Naga talks the way they do at the moment.